Hey everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we're going to be reviewing all of the evidence so far in favour of Aglae being Lila, which, in my opinion, I think she is. But let's go over the evidence because we've had some really good evidence in Reckless Driver and the Dark Castle since I last talked about this, which was just after Climatic Queen Ed. Although I want to note that all of this evidence hinges on Lila disguising herself as someone else, as in wearing a wig, contact lenses, makeup, etc., not as Akuma's. We know Gaby Baby, who was a full adult, so I'm assuming when he was Hawk Daddy he had the full powers up, he didn't have to, do a cooldown, he was able to akumatize people one after the other, but he could only akumatize more than one person at once if it was a group Akuma, like in Ganga Secrets, or if he had Natalie as Catalyst. And he could also eventually break the protective shields the charms made. But that was it. That was the full extent of his power with the butterfly. Obviously, I know with the peacock he had other powers, but Lila doesn't have the peacock, so we're not going to talk about that. But as we saw with Gabriel from seasons 1 to 5, he wasn't able to akumatize more than one person at once, unless it was a kind of like a special circumstance. And I would assume if Lila has upgraded the power, it's the anti-Kumas thing, where the butterfly shoots out of the Akuma villain, and it depowers the heroes, although to be fair it's only happened to Cat Noir so far. So let's start with Climatic Queen again before we get to the new evidence, and to be fair to Climatic Queen, the evidence here isn't solid, but it does start the suspicion. So we're introduced to Aglae, who is friends with Aurora, and she wants to win Chloe's contest, and Aglae kind of warns Aura not to use gossip to win. Now what Aglae says here could be interpreted in different ways. You could argue Aglae isn't Lila at all, and she's just a nice person, and she's just like, hey Aurora, I like Marinette and Adrian, please don't use their relationship for this. But it could also be, hey, I'm going to tell you not to do this in order to put this idea into your head. And as for when Aurora is akumatized, Aglae isn't around that we see. Aurora is with Diane in the locker room, and when Diane leaves, Aurora gets akumatized. In the next scene, the kids are all talking and Aglae arrives, and Aurora is already akumatized from that point. And we know from Simon Says that Gabriel doesn't have to stay transformed for a person to remain akumatized. So Aglae could have transformed, akumatized Aurora, detransformed, and then gone to join the others in the canteen. So now let's move on to the Dark Castle. So Marinette swaps with Alex so that Alex can go to her birthday party, and they're all like, oh yeah, this is nice, it's nice we're all here having fun together at this party. But Aglae is very quickly like, no we're not, because Marinette isn't here. So Marinette texts Alia from inside the burrow, gives the excuse that she is ill, but I'm not sure if Aglae buys that. Later, Alia lets everyone know it's time for cake, and we see Aglae walk away. And we can't see Aglae here in any of these shots of the kids. She seems absolutely completely like she's left. And of course, in this episode, after the akumatization in her lair built out of notebooks, Lila says she wasn't there, and I would assume the she Lila is referring to here is Marinette, saying she wasn't there at the birthday picnic. Like, it does seem a bit strange that if Aglae isn't Lila, that Lila would make the observation. Like, where was Lila to see this? Like, let's pretend for a moment that Lila isn't Aglae. Aglae is just, a brand new character. She's just one of the people in the class. There's nothing suspicious about her. How would Lila know to say that? She wouldn't. So I think it's more plausible that Aglae leaves the party during the cake scene, transforms, akumatizes Mr. D'Argencourt, and she has also noted that Marinette wasn't there, so she has to check, as she says, I need to check and check and check again to see if she's Ladybug, like she does in Vampigami. And the final episode I want to talk about is Reckless Driver, which is a little bit trickier, but it still works out at first. Let me get there. And I want to talk specifically first about the Akuma. So the victim in the episode is the therapist, whose name I do know, but I don't possess the ability to pronounce it, so I won't even try. And she is akumatized as a result of Aglae not being happy about the therapy process. You and me both, Aglae. I'm also not a fan of the therapy process. Aglae runs off before the Akuma sequence starts, and she shuts herself in the elevator. Now, Alia and the rest of the people she's there with, Max, Marinette, they do follow her, but the lift doors shut before they can get to her. So she is on her own in the lift. So I definitely think, she could have stayed in the lift, transformed, and akumatized the therapist. In the episode, we also learn that Aglae got akumatized due to her fear of bugs. Now, she absolutely could be telling the truth here, and it did seem she got akumatized in the flashback, and it did seem that she did indeed get akumatized, since in the flashback we see Ladybug, and she also talks to Marinette in the episode about the Akuma, so it seems like that checks out. She really did get akumatized, because otherwise Marinette would be a bit like, yeah, no, I don't remember showing up for that. So it definitely seemed like she did get akumatized. But as we know from the Collector, Gaby Baby could akumatize himself. We also know he could store akumas, like we saw in Optigami. And is it possible she could have faked really negative emotions? Yeah, I think so. Lila kind of does that in Revelation in order to get akumatized. Aglae also brings up Timebreaker. Like she says, she was hit by Timebreaker and shows a picture of nothing. So while she definitely may have been akumatized, I'm not so sure she was present in Timebreaker. I just think she could be lying to add to this whole story she's creating. The therapist also mentions having spoken to Aglae's dad. As we know, Lila this season is meant to have some kind of like network going on, like she is everywhere. She's got eyes all over the city. I don't think feasibly it could be one person, so I think it stands to reason she's possibly spoken to one of these people. Or maybe it was just Lila herself, pretending to be someone else, just like changing her voice. The only thing that goes against this theory of Aglae being Lila is when Reckless Driver captures Aglae. For lack of a better word, she basically plugs Aglae into the therapy car and reveals that she really is afraid of bugs. If Aglae wasn't afraid of bugs, for real, it would have come up. She'll say, like, oh, you have no fear at all, or whatever, or fear of something different. And the therapist manages to fix it. Like I said, we know Aglae isn't Lila akumatizing herself because as far as we're aware, she can't akumatize more than one person at once. So she can't akumatize herself, Lila, into Aglae and then also akumatize the therapist into Reckless Driver. So either Aglae/Lila truly is afraid of bugs or she's lying about it well enough that it could trick the therapy car. But I'm not actually sure if that's a thing or not because the therapy car's only been in one episode. So I'm not sure. Or at the end of the day, Aglae is just Aglae and she isn't Lila. She's just afraid of bugs and we're all too suspicious for our own good, but it is what it is. Anyway, besties, that's just what I think though. I'm pretty sure that's all the evidence, but I'm sure you'll let me know if I've missed any. But I am definitely interested to see where this will go, because I am definitely very, very suspicious. But anyway, let us know what you all think, and I will see you in the next one.